Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the last episode, we learned how to make cuts, and it was a very long one because there was a lot to dive into. Now, we are about to learn the next step of creating high quality raw footage. So as we mentioned, the first stage of becoming a great editor is creating high quality raw footage. And to create high quality raw footage, you have to first take care of the cuts, take care of the pacing, but also add in some high quality zoom-ins to make the entire edit look so much better. So how do we add in high quality zoom-ins inside of Premiere Pro? Well, today we're going to be learning number one, where to add high quality zoom-ins, where to add zoom outs, and number three, how do we make them so much smoother and what is the velocity graph? You're going to be learning an animation concept that you guys are going to be learning and using also inside of After Effects. So make sure you buckle up because we have a lot to dive into. And with this being said, let's get right into it. So zoom-ins are a very, very crucial part of video editing. Okay, so this is where you need to pay attention. Zoom-ins. Number one, the first question, where do we add zoom-ins? It's as simple as this. You just need to make sure you don't do too much of them. I'm literally not joking. This is all you need to know. When adding zoom-ins, you just want to make sure you aren't doing too many zoom-ins. You just don't want too many zoom-ins back to back. And ideally, I like to follow a rule where if I added a zoom-in to one clip or a zoom-out, the next clip cannot have a zoom-in or a zoom-out. It has to be completely still. And the reason I follow this rule it's just so that I make sure that there is in between zoom-ins and zoom-outs, there are clips of rest where it allows the viewer to just take a break. And so if I have clip A that has a zoom-in, clip B cannot have anything, but then clip C can totally have a zoom-in. So a zoom-in can only exist if the clip before it has nothing and the clip after it has nothing as well. So with this being said, how do we add zoom-ins inside of Premiere Pro? You guys already know how to do this. We like to use keyframes, and one of the most common places to add a zoom-in to bring the viewer into the video. Real quick, by the way, just quick side note, a zoom-in helps bringing the viewer into the video. It shows like focusing. It's like the viewer focusing in on your face, whereas a zoom out helps the viewer kind of zoom out of scene. So when you guys want to imagine zoom ins and zoom outs from now on, I want you to imagine them as a zoom in, making the viewer focus more on the subject, on the person in the video, and a zoom out, allowing the viewer to take a break and see the environment, see what's happening around. And if you guys think of it this way, it's going to be a lot easier for you guys to comprehend zoom ins, zoom outs, and exactly where you're supposed to use them. So let's go ahead and start applying it. You guys already know how to add a zoom in. All you have to do is head over to your effect controls, select your clip, and all you got to do is keyframe the scale, right? You keyframe the scale at 100. We move our playhead forward and we want to do a zoom in. We're going to zoom into 120 and it's going to add a keyframe for 120. This just shows Premiere Pro that the first keyframe here is at 100, second keyframe is at 120, and we have a zoom in between them. Now, the way you guys know the zoom in already is we add a keyframe to the beginning and put the keyframe at the end, and we have a zoom in like so. This is a sample video. Now, a few common mistakes that people already make is that they make the second value too big. My recommendation, more subtle zoom-ins are a lot higher quality than big ones. If I make this 150, this will look like such a gamer video. It will look so bad, I promise you. This is a sample video. Look at that, it's insane, okay? Whereas if I make this just 110 or 115, something as small as that, all of a sudden, this is a sample video. It's a much more high quality video. So I promise you guys, please do not go past the 120 scale mark. When you want to do zoom ins, maybe just add 20 according to how long as well. So like since this clip is pretty small, I also need to take that into consideration. I would just use maybe a 110 for this one. So I would go from 100 to 110. A solid rule of thumb is to never go past 120 because your cuts are probably not going to be longer than 3 seconds. And from 100 to 120 in 3 seconds is pretty good. It's basically as good as it gets. And if you guys watch this zoom in, this is a sample video. It's nice and subtle. Now, as I mentioned, clip A has a zoom in. Clip B cannot have a sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Now clip C, our third clip can have either a zoom in or a zoom out. Now check out what I'm saying now. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Sometimes I might even say important things, right? I'm kind of making the viewer imagine more. I'm bringing the viewer out of the scene. So one thing to keep in mind is whenever your creator or the person making the video references something that has to do with taking your viewer out or making them see a bigger picture, all of a sudden instantly think of a zoom out. So we're going to add a keyframe for the scale, add another keyframe for the scale over here, go to the first one and set the first one at, as I mentioned, don't go past 120. We're going to set the first one to 120 and the second one to 100. We're going to put the first keyframe here, second keyframe here. And we're going to get
Sometimes I might even say important things like this.
So. Other times I'm probably going to say something. And then for the last clip, we're just going to leave it as it is because as I mentioned, you cannot have more than 2 clips behind to back, more than 2 zoom ins back to back. So if we watch through this, it's pretty simple, right?
This is a sample video.
Sample video video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something. Now, just with the cuts alone and the like with the J cuts and with the zoom ins, we already have a pretty good video. Like you could take most content creators' videos and put it in this sequence, put it through good J cuts, put it through good pacing, put it through good zoom ins and zoom outs, and you already have an amazing raw video. And that's why becoming an editor in 2025 is actually an easy thing, because all you have to do is be good at the little things which no one is doing, and you can add so much value to people's businesses. But with this being said, these zoom ins are definitely not as high quality as the ones which I showed you earlier on in the course. And for that reason, we're going to be making these higher quality. And I need to introduce you guys something that is called velocity. To understand velocity, you have to go next to your keyframe on the left side and click on this arrow. You are going to get a weird looking thing like this. I'm going to bring these two keyframes to show you guys something. But what velocity is it just basically means it's a slider that controls the speed of your animation. Okay, and this is going to take some time to understand, but slowly we're going to dip our toes into it and we're going to understand it bit by bit inside of Premiere Pro and bit by bit inside of After Effects. So to show you guys a quick example, I'm going to go over to the right side and add a quick shape, and I'm going to do add a quick shape over here. And I'm going to do the same animation we did before, which is keyframe it and the left side, and then keyframe it moving to the right side. And I'm going to bring both these keyframes together, and all of a sudden I've got a movement from the left to the right side like so. Now, what you guys notice is it's very, very robotic and it's not smooth at all. How do you make things smoother in Premiere Pro? Well, it's very, very easy. You just click on this to basically open up your velocity graph. And when you open up your velocity graph, it is very simple from here. This graph, which you see on the screen right now, these lines over here, this actually controls your velocity. And you might be wondering how. Well, you can see the velocity over here. The speed of, now when it's constant like this, the bar basically represents how fast your thing is going. So since there's no movement here, the bar is at 0. You guys can see the factor here. As soon as the keyframe starts, it's all of a sudden moving at 432 per second. And 432 per second is moving all the way over to here, and then it goes back to 0. Now, during that same period of time, if I went to the second keyframe and I made it go further, all of a sudden to make up for it, all of a sudden to cross a longer distance in a short period of time, it has to go faster. So it's going to go up to 810, and you guys can see it goes way faster. I'll show you guys an example right next to each other. So I'm going to duplicate both of these, and I'm going to keyframe my second box at the bottom here, and I'm going to have my second box start on the left side, and then we're going to just leave the exact same keyframes. I'm just going to have my second box go all the way to the end, and I'm going to change the color of my second box to a bright red or something. Okay, and you guys notice the red box is going to go way faster than the gray box. And why is that? It's because both of them in the same period of time are covering different distances. This one is going from this point here, right over to this point here, whereas the other one is going from this point here over to a point off the screen, which means the other one has to travel faster. So it's kind of like me saying, if I took two of you guys and I said, okay, you have to cross 1 meter in 5 seconds, you would walk slow. And if I told another one in 5 seconds you have to cross 10 meters, you would probably run, right? So it's the exact same thing. It's the same period of time, but one of them is crossing a longer distance. And for that reason, when we look at their velocities, one of them is going to be 830 and the other one's going to be 430. So the velocity is determined by how high the line is. Now, another thing that we could do is we can actually manipulate velocity. We can have these boxes start slow and then speed up and then slow down. And I'll show you guys exactly how we do this. This is where I need you guys to do this with me just to make sure that you actually fully understand this. The way we control velocity inside of Premiere Pro is very simple. We click on the keyframes and you guys are going to get sliders, or you can just highlight both of them, whichever it is. You guys are going to get these sliders, and these sliders basically represent velocity. So since the higher my line is, the faster this thing is going. If I bring my line up like this, you guys will notice it's going to make a ramp. Now, all of a sudden, check out what's happening according to our graph. This point here is the fastest. Its velocity is 1,800. And this point here is now slow. It's 120. So what's going to happen? It's going to start fast and then end slow. And if I end my slider at 0, then it starts fast and ends at 0. So notice it's not going from 0, stagnant to speed of 100, it's moving at 100 and then 0 again. It's now going from 0, speed of 150, so it moves very quickly and then it slows down back down to 0. And that's exactly what this represents. So it's going quick. The higher a point is, the more quick it's going to go. And the lower a point is, the slower this thing is. So it's going quick and then slowing down. And check out what kind of animation this makes for us. Boom. So notice the difference. I'm going to show this to you guys side by side. So I'm going to duplicate this, okay? I'm going to have one at the top like so. Just don't worry too much about what I'm doing. And one at the bottom right now, just so you guys understand. And both of these are the exact same right now. The one at the top, I'm now going to add my velocity to it. So to do this, I'm going to raise this one to the top. And I'm going to bring this one to the bottom. So it's going to start quick and then slow down. And boom, starts quick and then slows down. So notice the difference. One of them looks robotic. Check out this one. It looks absolutely boring and robotic. And the other one, it looks very fun to watch. It's super smooth. I'm going to show you guys a few velocity graphs and what exactly they do. This is your first velocity graph. This is the start quick and then slow down. All you have to do to create this with whichever properties you have is make sure that the first point over here is very high and the end point is very low. And make sure you have a downward exponential graph like this. If you want to make it stronger, you just take the slider and bring it down like this. Now check out what's happening. Now if I bring this thing closer like that, all of a sudden this point now has to cross faster because it has to curve even quicker. And you guys will understand this slowly, but for now, just understand this. The second kind of velocity graph is, let me just quickly bring this thing back over here. The second kind of velocity graph is the spike graph, or actually let's start with the start slow and then end fast. So just like the start fast and then end slow, the start slow and end fast is the exact opposite. We take the second slider, bring it all the way up. Then we take the first slider and slow it down. So this way it's going to start slow and then speed up. So notice how it starts slow and then boom, speeds up. And this animation looks very, very clean. So start slow and then speed up. Okay. Now with this being said, the third type, which you guys are going to be using a lot, is the start slow, spike up, and then slow down, which is where you bring both of them down to the bottom and you're going to get this curve. And you bring both of these sliders out like this. And by doing this, you guys are going to get a smooth ramp up like this, and it's going to build up and speed up and slow down. Now notice exactly what's happening to the velocity here. It's starting slow, 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 building up, 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 and it goes faster and faster and faster till it gets to a peak, and then it goes slower and slower and slower until it gets back to 0. So it speeds up quickly and then slows down. And remember, these two animations start and end at the same time. But just like, look at this one. Look at what this low quality animation looks like, and look at what this high quality animation looks like. There we go. Now, from now on, whenever you make animations inside of Premiere Pro, you need to promise me this in order to become a high quality editor. You have to use one of these three velocities. Please either use the start quick and slow down, or the start slow and then end quick, or the spike in the middle. And I don't want to say too much because you guys are going to learn this as you're going. Remember, guys, in the earlier course, I said you learn better with experience than you learn with just information. So instead of me just saying this, let's go ahead and apply it to our video from now on. And you guys are going to slowly learn how velocity works with animations. One more thing that I wanted to cover is also the moving the sliders further and backwards. What this basically does is it manipulates the shape even more. So as you guys understood, like if the shape is like this, it starts quick at a very rough pace. If I wanted to, have it a spike, I would just drop this down. So now I have my circle, and I'll just move these sliders together to get this spike shape. Now, if I made a spike like this, so if I had it go like this, all of a sudden, by just moving these sliders around, I can determine which point it's going to go the fastest. So if I move it back here, the fastest point is going to be early. So it's going to quickly move in and then kind of zoom out. It's the second one down here, by the way. If I have it at the end over here, it's going to build up and then finally quickly zoom out. And if I have it in the middle, it's going to build up and then, move over. Now, the sharper I make the spike, the harsher the transition is going to be. So notice how harsh this is compared to the one above it. Whereas if I make it smoother, like so, it's all of a sudden super smooth, okay? So with this being said, you guys are going to be learning how to use these and manipulating your animations throughout the rest of this masterclass, so don't even worry too much about it. But how do we use this for our zoom-ins and make them really cool? Well, all of zoom-ins rely on the same exact property, which is they have the spike at the beginning, and so they start quick and then slow down at the end, and that just makes them so much better. So for this zoom in here, which is what we have over here in the beginning, this is what our zoom in looks like. This is a sample video. To make this thing much better, we're going to move our second keyframe back so we can see the sliders. We're going to bring this one down because we want it to start quick, and we're going to move our slider back like this. You guys, it's going to cut out a bit, but then it's going to readjust. So you guys can see it starts quick. And I'm just going to keep doing this until we have a big spike in the beginning. And then to make it start quick, I'm going to move this slider all the way back. You guys notice it starts quick and then slows down. If you guys just do this with me,
this is a sample video.
We have a quick zoom in.
This is a sample video.
So notice how so much higher quality
this is a sample video
compared to a boring zoom in.
This is a sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say
here. So notice here how slow it is. I'm going to go ahead and have it start quick and then slow down. Watch this. So move it up like this, move it back until we create a spike, and move the first slider back so it starts very quickly. Check this out.
Sometimes I might...
Let me just have it start.
Sometimes I might even say important
things. Look at how much nicer that is. And if I did it the other way around, that also actually works. That completely works. If I had it start quick, so if I move the slider back, move the slider forward, and then move it down like this, and just have it kind of start slow like this, and then end quick. Make sure you end it on the same line. You're gonna get this.
Sometimes I might even say important things like this.
Other times, right? Another way that you could do this is we could just have a spike in the middle. So we could just have a spike like somewhere around here. Like this, we could just have a spike in the middle. And whether this spike is upwards or downwards doesn't matter because it's always going to affect the
Sometimes I might even say important things like this.
Like that, look at that.
Sometimes I might even say important things.
And so these are a few kinds of zoom ins that you can try. Let me go ahead and show this for you guys. So let's say I had this exact same clip and I had it 3 different times, okay? I'm going to show this to you guys real quick. There are 3 different kinds of zoom ins that we could try. The first one is the start quick, and you guys, I want you to try this with me. Start quick and then slow down, which is the quick kind of like...
Sometimes I might even say important things.
And then the second one is the start slow and then end quick. So this is where we move our slider to the end and just make sure that the spike happens at the end of the frame.
Sometimes I might even say important things like this.
Boom. Like that. And the last one is the spike in the middle, which is where you meet both of these guys together in the middle to form a very cool spike. So this is what the spike
Sometimes I might even say important things like this.
So let's go and watch through this.
Sometimes I might even say important things like this.
Here's the second
Sometimes
one.
I might even say important things like this.
Quick zoom out. And then
sometimes I might even say important things like this.
So with this being said, there's no correct way to do this. It just depends on personal preference and what looks best in your video. Sometimes harsher zoom-ins can indicate a bigger, more impactful focus or zoom out, and other more smooth zoom-ins or zoom outs can indicate a more smooth operation with that. So with this being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you create and use zoom-ins and zoom outs inside of your videos.
This is a sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something absolutely useless.
And you guys can notice with just really good zoom-ins and with just really good cuts, our videos are already very fun to watch. So with this being said, ladies and gentlemen, now that we have created zoom-ins and very high quality cuts, it's time to learn how exactly we could save that as a preset. And what exactly is a preset? Well, if you want to just be adding zoom-ins all the time, you don't want to be recreating the same animation over and over and over again. So in the next episode, we're going to be diving into and learning exactly how we can create this as a preset and how we can do this so that we can add it, and how presets work inside of Premiere Pro, and how we can make this so that we can add it with just the click of one button into any clip. So basically any clip you want, you can just click one button and have a zoom in or a zoom out. I'll see you guys there.